bedroom. I'm wondering what that last bedroom is. Maybe we should King's purple. It's literally the only one that we need. Oh, or is it like something like the secret garden where there's like a way to get into it that we're not getting in? There's also one missing shop. Okay, so the conservatory shows up there, but not here. Okay, so this is a literal room then that we can spawn? Or is tunnel there? No, okay. Yeah, all these rooms, I didn't have to do anything special for these rooms other than draw them. Right? Yeah. So let's, you know what? I know I said book was the first thing, but let's King Banner purple today. I've never King Bannered purple. Yeah, like where our hands are tied here. Silly. We're gonna use a dice. I've never done a dormitory before, so we're gonna do the dorm finally. Wow, look at that. We got shoes. Now, whose dormitory room is this? Do we think? Drafting strategy. Oh, maybe this is where we find out about the contest. Academia isn't only found in the mountains of Korarica. Classroom is a great example of scholastic strategies that this room type has to offer. Not only does it provide synergy for other drafting rooms, it's also a valuable source of information and knowledge. Did you know the classrooms you'll find will fall under one of 8 different grades, ranging from first grade to the culmination of your academic journey, grade 8. However, there are rumors of an additional annex classroom at Mount Holly Elementary and used solely for exams and student testing. Yeah, it's the outside classroom. But finding it has been near impossible as it requires drafting more than 8 classrooms. Oh, they're not talking about outside. Interesting. Okay. We learned about that. Boiler room is known as a power source because it provides steam to various rooms in the house. Steam is conveyed room to room via ducts that run across the ceiling, and power can be transported across great distances as long as you continue to string together rooms that contain power ducts. This is what I found out about the archives yesterday. The archives have power ducts even though the room doesn't have any power in it. So when you're in a room, look up. There might be a duck. Did you know that drafting from a door that is steam powered will increase the likelihood of drawing rooms with ducks? I did know that yesterday when I encountered that and looked it up myself. Oh, geez. Tomorrow rooms, time freezes. Entering furnace or sauna after drafting freezer will thaw any frozen gems or gold you're carrying. And you will once again be able to, so if we do a freezer and then we're like, oh shoot, I actually want to not do this, we have to go into the sauna or the furnace. That's good to know. If you still wish your accounts to carry over to the next day, you have to refreeze, go back in the freezer. If a furnace is drafted within a few ranks of freezer, the temperature will start rising and everything will melt. So you don't have to do the little invention. If the temperature gets too high, refreezing will no longer be possible. Interesting. Okay. We know about spread rooms. Cool. Okay. Okay, we learned a little bit. That was nice. Anything that's in here that there's another. Now we've already figured out that part of the puzzle, so we don't need that E. We already got that ourselves. Okay, well, there we go. Back to it. Trying to get apparently the rarest of the purple rooms. Now we need to do something that will... Oh yeah, we got hovel today, so we're golden. All right, we can get in this way. Also, apparently there were clues in here with where I looked. Oh, look at that. That is a very, I mean, would you interpret that as a clue to dig under the second washing machine? Because if not, you're just like me and I wouldn't either, but I looked it up online and that's where I found a key to the archives. And then apparently there's also a clue here for the patio, but I don't see another circle. There is something like there. Anything by the grill, maybe? Anyway. Okay, we can hit this button now. Yay. Okay, what did that open? That opened that one. All right. We need to go back to the hallway because we have shut ourselves out. Going up that way. And then now we can get in here. And what did that opens over there? Okay. I wonder what you get when you open up all the, I'm hoping we get some kind of like puzzle or something. Solution. Okay. All right, we have 2 dice, so we can make this happen if we need to. The courtyard. I love the courtyard. Now, the only thing is, it has no northern entrance, so we're going to have to make the nook really count. Look, we're cutting ourselves off completely, but I think that's okay. Because now we can push this button. And that made over there go. Okay. So now we can go here. And there's, oh, another key. Push this button. And that made over there go. Okay. Lots of keys. I love it. And I'll push this button. Was that this one? Oh. Okay, now we can cut through. I really want to push that in the middle. That middle button is our goal. I bet that unlocks something cool. Okay, so here. Okay, this was the only one. Okay. Did we push this one? We're opening this thing up. Okay, no, we need that. Gotcha. Okay. So that is the final. Okay, no, we need this open. Okay. So we have our objective. We have 2 dice left. That's pretty good. We just need to loop around, which of course this won't let us do, but this might let us do. Yup. Cool. Sometimes there's coins in the chapel. Yay, okay. Now this is going to be really challenging. We do have 1 dice left. I wish we had more. I wish we had more and like less keys. Okay, so this one. Yeah, because this is the problem with King's Bannering Purple is that we have a limited opportunity to loop around / no opportunity. Okay, corridor. Okay. This is our only chance because we don't have any other way to redraw room. So if this is just, as long as there is a door to the south, we'll be fine. Of course there isn't. Of course there isn't. Why would there be? Why would there be? There doesn't need to be. Let's go. We need to order the History of Orindia First Edition. Okay, thank you. And then the next time we come here, drafting studio, select a new floor plan to permanently add. Well, we don't need that anymore. We've done all of it. Lose half your steps. That's brutal. Bookshop. Yeah, let's see what else is for sale, actually. Since we bought the big book, what else can we buy? A new clue. We are 1 coin short of a new clue. The Curse of Blackbridge. Yeah, that seems nice. And then Drafting Strategy Volume 4. Alright, we have 2 new books we'll be able to check out. We could have tunneled straight up through to the foundation. Magnifying glass. We also sometimes need that. Cool. Alright, this is the real History of Orindia. This book was graciously gifted by Simon Jones and checked out by Simon Jones. Orindia was once the name used to designate the realm of the Eastern Waters. Okay, just so you also know, I'm going to be taking a photo of like every page of this book because I'm not going to be checking this out again. So that's also what I'm going to be doing. Orindia was once the name used to designate the realms of the Eastern Waters. Though the term is no longer employed in the halls of politics, nor commonly known to the average citizen, its memory flickers in the hearts of those who hail from the lands that it once encompassed. And many of the elder generation in hushed circles still refer to themselves as Orindians. Yet we must not let the flame of our history dwindle into obscurity of whispered conversations, nor permit our leaders to enjoin us to abandon the name of our land. We must keep alive the embers of our past and preserve them for the generations yet to come. Okay, could we move the magnifying glass out of the way? Okay, no, apparently not. Ajera. Most historians mark the beginning of the first era, often denoted as Ajera, by the ascension of the first king of Orindia, whose name Orus would later grace the burgeoning township in which he was crowned. Orus was known before his coronation as a prominent merchant lord of considerable means and affluence, whose sway in the region made him the ideal candidate for the unification of the surrounding provinces. Regrettably, history is not always forthcoming, and the surviving records of those bygone days are mostly limited to trade agreements and sales receipts. Nevertheless, we can deduce from these ledgers that Orus had but one aim: expansion. The territory spread forth from the heart of Orus, and by the end of the 1st century, the black banners of Orindia could be seen fluttering in every hamlet and bolstery. So they are black banners. We need to know the color of the banner, the mode of transportation, and the weather that they had. Those are things we need. Okay, well, since we have the little magnifying glass. Castle, okay. So I got a clue in the chest room that said castle. With some letters. I wonder what that means. Oh, I can move this out of the way. Okay. It was the, second era. It was the 4th king of Orindia who split this vast domain into 3 equal shares. 3 realms for his 3 children. To the eldest, he granted the fields and mountains of his great-grandfather, the middle province and heartspring of the kingdom, the realm of Orinda Aries, after the angelic paragon of royalty, Orinda. To the youngest, he bestowed upon him in the realm of Arch Aries, the land of northern storms. We need all this information for the sigils. This is great. A wild and untamed expanse, at which time was not developed, but a good deal more vast than the eldest brother's lot. And to his middle child, his only daughter, he gifted her the southern realm of Eraja, a mystical realm of the ancestors, a land steeped in tradition, magic, and the poetry of the old tongue. Okay, we need this map, because this is in room 46. It's like, it talks about how they traveled around the realm. The third era. As the second era drew to a close, the three sovereign realms had achieved a period of remarkable progress and prosperity. Each of these distinct regions, ruled by their respective sibling monarchs, had blossomed, cultivating the bountiful resources of their lands and developing a unique character and culture that set them apart from one another. Despite those differences, the sibling monarchs managed to maintain friendly relations throughout their lives and were known for their cooperation in matters of trade and transportation. The succeeding generations of their heirs continued that tradition, and the third era was defined by the construction of a vast network of railways that spanned the length and breadth of the land, linking the northern mountains of Arch Ares to the southern shores of Araja. This development facilitated travel and commerce between three realms, further strengthening their bond and laying the foundation for the promise of a prosperous and bright future, a promise that would unfortunately, as my readers will soon find, not be kept. The fourth era. All right. As the kingdom of Orinda Ares entered the fourth era, a different kind of ruler took the reins of power. King Desolates III was a king who listened to the voices of all his subjects, from the most influential advisors to the humblest of citizens. He was a king who often was seen among the people eating, drinking, and conversing, a sight that shocked not only the gentry and the court, but the masses as well, who could scarce believe that they, as peasantry, would ever sup with the crown. Desolates was renowned as the king of the people, and therefore was a surprise to no one when he made the decision to move the capital from the secluded mountains of Reddington to the public stage of Oris, leaving castle and court behind. The people were overjoyed by this choice, and the city welcomed their king with open arms and great fanfare. Yet, not all were swayed so easily. There were those that viewed the king's conduct as unbecoming of his station and were wary of how readily he could be persuaded by the tears and tales of the common folk. These dissenting voices planted the seeds of discontent, which took root in the lawns and gardens of the nobles of Fen, or as I have been instructed to say, the grand city of Fen. Then we get the era of ruin. After the passing of King Desolates III, the fourth era came to an abrupt end. Thankfully, the king died naturally in his old age and surrounded by his people in Oris, far away from the growing unrest among the western city of Fen. On the very next day, the 6th of October, the self-proclaimed Prince Learson of Fen declared himself the true monarch. This declaration was bolstered by a surprising number of supporters due to the fact that Desolates IV shared his father's good name but little of his virtues. As the prospect of civil war seemed inevitable, the realm's regiments were hastily recalled from the frontiers to stamp out and put an end to the Fensurrection. However, instead of restoring order, what ensued was a savage and merciless campaign against their own people. The gardens of Fen, once a center of splendor, were transformed into a battlefield as the cries of the innocent echoed through the city's streets, stained in red. Hold on. Let's look. The pacification of Fen. They call it the pacification of Fen. Looks to be boat on fire. City on fire. Okay. Morning Bay. That seems maybe like that's important. I'm going to take a photo of it. Okay. I have like 200 photos of this on my phone. Wait. I always forget. Move. Okay. The brutality of the pacification of Fen did not go unnoticed by neighbors. As sympathy for the city surged, allies came forward to lend support. Among them was the general of the Northern Regiment, who, sickened by the barbaric actions of the other battalions, joined forces with Prince Learson to form a formidable army. Together, they leveraged their political influence and favors to persuade the nearby realms of Arch Ares and Nuance to join their cause. However, even with the tide turning in their favor, victory did not come easy. The War of the Fifth Era lasted 22 long years and saw buried 1 in every 3 men. Prince Learson himself added another number to the casualties. However, even in death, he had won. Oris had fallen, and with it, the realm. The black flags that had flown for 5 eras were burned, and in their place, red banners were hoisted in the honor of the fallen of Fen. The few remaining members of the former royal family fled in fear of their lives to the south, forever exiled. That brings us to the current era. Today, the realms inherited by the three, Fenares, Archares, and Eraja, once again stand united as allies. Though the distance between our peoples has grown, our connection to this land remains as strong as ever. The spruce and the birch that span across the realms serve as constant reminder that we all share a common past. And as those trees continue to grow, so do our hopes for a common future. A future where we are not defined by the colors of the banners we raise, but by that which connects us. A land that we all call home. For this, despite everything else, a land rich in history, a land of myth and wonder, a land that sprung forth the greatest empire the world has ever seen, the land of our fathers, of our mothers, and of our children. This land is, after all that has happened, still Arindia. Let's look at the picture. It's mountains. It's mountains. All right, well, we learned all about the bloody past of Arindia. Very nice. Very nice. Next time we get the library, we will draw the other book that we got, the new Clue book. Let's continue northward. Chamber of Mirrors. Okay, we're back in the game, kind of, a little bit. We have 3 gems. We have one dice. We're kind of back in the game. All right, okay. See, we didn't need to King's Banner it. I think that's like not a good thing to do. All right, with 35 steps, we're going to be walking all the way around. Okay. We got 3-sided last time. We're not going to let this get us again. We have 4 chances to redraw a room. We're not going to let us get it again. I didn't know we could get the... Whoa! I didn't know we could get the middle one. What? What? Do we need this for something? Huh. Okay, there's something going on. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh! You can open those. You found a duplicate copy of one of your floor pans. Would you like to permanently add an additional den to your drafting pool? Why wouldn't you want to do that? That's amazing. Oh, that's blocked. That's blocked. Okay, we can unblock those, I think. Okay, so not like a huge secret, I don't think, but pretty good. Okay, so get those. What do we need to do? Duplicate storeroom floor plan. All right. We just need to get over there. I hate that I have so much stuff and we're literally gonna pass out. Okay, we just need to get... Okay, I think is this the one we need? Either way, both are undone. Oh, it's a key. Okay. So we've gotten all of them. We've uncovered the secret to the Chamber of Secrets. And spoiler alert, it was not that good. It was just 2 floor plans we already had. Is that because we should have done this a lot sooner? Maybe. But overall, I rank this secret as disappointing out of 10. Workshop, perfect. Pray that the broken lever's in here. Oh my god, your prayers worked. Thank you. Okay, so now we just have to Okay, the run is dead from going any more north. Love that for us. But we can go do the other thing I wanted to do, which is, I mean, I don't know if this is going to work. Fix the thing in the casino that's missing a lever. I'm going to be really mad if you need to do like one other thing to it, you know? Do we have to go all the way back around? Yeah, because we never connected anything. Cool. Peak professional gaming. Hopefully this is all you need to do. Here. Fix. Broken lever. Fix it. Yay! Okay, is this like a better version? Do we win more? Or is it like exactly the same? So we can do a bonus spin for 1 coin? We got 3. Cash out. All right. 2 snakes. Oh, no, we don't want snakes. No, get out of here. I feel like we're not going to win enough for a new book if we keep up with this. Okay. Here we go. This is our chance. I hate you. I hate you! Oh God, we just spent so much money on that. It cashes you out no matter what if you just hit R2. Yay, we got 5! We got 3! Alright, we're finally winning. And we're immediately losing. Yay! Oh my God, we're back up to 30. We got 35. We add all this up. It's 49, 50. Okay, we can go to the bookstore. So, I mean, I don't know what the deal is with that. I wonder if it'll be fixed all the time now. Let's go back to the bookstore. And we can buy the other books we need. Because we have 50 coins. Very productive day. Oh no, we're gonna lose a coin. I love getting the bookstore right by the library. I wonder if that's like a common thing. Oh no, we're 1 short. We're 1 short. No, I forgot that I was on the way. Okay, I know. You don't have to point it out. What are the chances that we would win? Are there coins anywhere else, do you think? I don't know. I just need another big win. I just need 1 more. Can't win if you don't play, you know? We have nothing to lose anyway, though, because we can't afford the book no matter what, so... Might as well, you know? What does that bring us to? 46? Okay. We just need, like, 10 more. Oh my God. We just need like 3 more. $53. Perfect. We can afford the book. Okay, we have a new clue. Very nice. And then, like, whenever, we'll have 8 coins later. But that's what we need. So, yeah, let's call it a day, I guess. All right, magnifying glass and a book. We got The Curse of Black Bridge, graciously gifted by Simon Jones. Oh, yeah, because I bought it in the bookstore. I just got that. I thought it meant that, like, I don't know why I don't know why I thought that. Yeah, no, I'm buying these. So, obviously, it was graciously gifted by me. Okay, Curse of Black Bridge. Has a hand. Very scary, very spooky. Okay. The legend of Black Bridge is one that's well known to the people of the Grand Realm. Hold on while I get my camera out and take photos of every single page of this book. For versions of this tale have been passed down from generation to generation. With each new telling, the story has changed, becoming over the years more colorful, more verbose, and as one might expect, increasingly horrifying. However, with so many renditions and unique personal touches, the task of confining and binding this tale to text seemed an ambitious and impossible challenge. Over the course of my research, I have heard dozens of variations of the legend, and while the details would often change, I was surprised how much of the story's heart remained the same. Yet the more I listened, the clearer it became that there could never be a definitive version of this tale capable of capturing all the wonder and the myth of the Black Bridge. In the end, I chose to write down what I felt most authentic, the story my grandmother told me as a boy long ago. Part 1. The Berry Picker for Morris. Buckle in, guys. Many years ago, before peace had become a familiar word, there lived a group of rogues so wayward that the locals deemed it appropriate to call their number the Unholy Hounds. They were feral outlaws, composed of society's worst, in a time when society was at its worst, and for each crime that fearful travelers credited to the group, a dozen more lay unclaimed, each worse than the last. For the gentry, however, who often value their coffers more than their companions, no crime could measure more wicked than the group's primary enterprise, high road robbery. One such member of the so-called band of rogues was a boy of 13 years, Jesper, who had not been lucky in life, having lost 2 brothers to war and parents to famine. In the years of hunger that followed, Jesper lived in a gutter behind the churchyard, relying on the nourishment of scurrying bugs and weeds harvested from the cracks of the alleyway to sustain his pitiful existence. It is not surprising that a child aiming to escape such hardships would take any easy road out. An easy and well-traveled road, paved with temptations, leading out of the city and into the gentry lands, where loose purse strings entwine with the strands of salvation and glisten equally with the hope of opportunity. It was this road that eventually led Jasper to the end of his youth, a hidden cave at the bottom of Black Bridge Canyon. It was here that he met his surrogate family and saviors, the notorious gang of godless outlaws known as the Unholy Hounds. Despite their hardened circumstances that had led to this vocation of banditry, Jesper was surprisingly tender-hearted and was often teased by the group for being too kind for such an ignoble life. For this reason, Jesper was assigned the innocent role of berry picker. It was not just innocence that set berry picking apart from the gang's more wicked undertakings, for it was the only duty performed without the safety of night's concealment. Jesper, no stranger to solitude, did not protest that he alone worked, while the others slept soundly, tucked away in the cave at the bottom of Black Bridge Canyon. On one such occasion, Jesper decided to get an early start. He left the cave, berry basket in hand, and set out into the woods before the morning sun had even brushed against the tallest treetops. It was colder in the mornings, but the headway dawn afforded meant Jesper could reach the furthermost berry patches without worry of being chastised for tarrying upon his return. Good Lord, this is he's right, it is verbose. It took over 3 hours on foot to reach his destination, and along the way Jesper had passed by many a familiar bush, all priorly pillaged and so bereft of berries that no one would have to dedicate several moments in earnest examination before finding a single one. Jesper was patient, but even patience has its limits. He was he was confident that the accounting for the time lost to this long stretch of travel, his efforts would be well worth the pain. Surveying the patches in this new grove surprised even Jesper. The red dots suspended among the leaves seemed as numerous as stars in the skies. Upon seeing such a bounteous sight, he clutched his berry basket tightly and nearly toppled over out of joy. Is he picking holly berries? Are they not poisonous? Once he regained his senses, Jesper quickly made a decision. He would not reveal the location of this newfound treasure. Instead, he would earn the respect of his confederates, who, upon seeing his yield, might attribute his success to hard work. Smiling at his plan, Jesper set off to fill his basket and was making steady strides in this task when the sound of thundering hooves interrupted him. Let's look at him picking. There he is. He's picking. I guess that isn't holly. A carriage is approaching. The thought made Jesper freeze. Had he been so enchanted by his discovery that he had neglected to observe his surroundings? How could a roadway be so close? He ducked down and crept toward the impending sound, hiding behind one of the larger bushes nearby. It was only a moment more before the sound source revealed itself. Within 50 paces of where Jesper hid, an elegant carriage with gold trim came soaring around a corner of trees, led by two beautiful white horses, and conveyed by a stern-looking driver seated atop the vehicle, flaunting the most sophisticated regalia Jesper had ever seen. It was not just any carriage, it was a royal carriage. Even without ever having witnessed such a sight before, Jesper was certain. The sight had so transfixed Jesper that he stood awestruck, unable to tear away as the carriage approached. The little concealment the bush provided was soon proven unequal to the driver's lofty perch, and upon spotting the boy, he pulled the reins with such effort that the noble steed slid to a sudden halt with precise control. "You boy, get out from behind that bush," he shouted with a rigidity that betrayed a modest amount of fear. "You startled me half to death, coming round the bend of my own drive and me seeing such an unfamiliar face in a place where there ought to be not any face." Jesper quickly contemplated running. The man was much older, and his dress was suitable for courtly behavior, not dashing through the bramble and mud. "I was picking berries." Jesper raised the half-filled basket up to allow the driver to see proof of his words. The demeanor of the man suddenly changed. It was a change that Jesper was familiar with. He had many times seen the same stern expressions on the most fiendish bandits melt away when presented with a berry basket. Any suspicions that the driver might have had instantly evaporated, and for even the notion of a member of the unholy hounds picking berries seemed farcical. The softened expression even made allowances for a smile. "Berries, eh? Say, you couldn't have picked a better spot for them, could you? I used to pick berries here as a boy." Jesper took his cue to finally step forward out from behind the bush, proudly brandishing his basket. "I know, and what luck I found them. I have only just begun picking, and look how many I have. It would have taken me fourfold the time back home to procure this number." The driver bent down for a closer look. "And where's your home, boy? It must be quite far." Jesper replied with a scripted response. "A little south of Tanner Fork, just past the burnt woods." "My God, that is far. You couldn't have come all the way only this morning." It was true. Tanner Fork was in the exact opposite direction Jesper had traveled, and while the response would seem perfectly reasonable in a location closer to Blackbridge Canyon, he could see why it might seem less believable here. "Sir, I have traveled much farther for much less profit. I dare say there is no distance yet made by man that would not be worth undertaking for a prize such as these. Surely you have tasted them for yourself?" Jesper felt happier with his response, as it seemed to amplify the man's smile. "In my youth often, but perhaps I took it for granted because I never had to travel very far. And even then, my father would always drive us here in the carriage. So I'm ashamed I never had to walk such a stretch to earn an equal reward." It was Jesper's time to smile. "Then let my efforts reward us both today." He raised the basket even higher. "A taste in memory of your youth, sir." The driver chuckled and removed one glove, bending over the seat to reach down to the basket. And the moment his fingers touched the first berry, the dagger in turn met his throat, cutting through a superficial layer of skin and drawing blood. Jesper caught the man's startled eyes. "And for that taste, I will have your purse, sir, in memory of my youth. The driver's arm had gone stiff, his chin raised and trembling, more frightened than he had ever been before. Whether unable or incapable of speaking, he did not respond to the boy. Perhaps he did not think his jaw could afford to be engaged at this particular time. Jesper let the basket drop, freeing his other hand to probe the man's pockets. Do not mistake me, sir. I will not kill you if you give me no cause. Though I will admit, the thought of taking your carriage and leaving you the indignity of walking appeals to me. Unable to find a purse in the man's coat, Jesper pivoted to search the seat under him. Why have you no purse upon your person? The driver slowly raised his hand cautiously, pointing towards the carriage door behind him. Jesper lowered the knife's edge a small degree to allow the man to speak, which he did in turn softly. There's a box in the carriage. Well, come down then and grant me the courtesy of sparing your life and binding your hands, a concession I assure you of my tender heart, for it would be much easier to slit your throat. The man started to comply, slowly lowering himself from the driver's seat of the carriage. Once down, Jesper guided him away from the carriage to a nearby tree, where he instructed him to get on his knees and put his hands behind his back. Excusing his inexperience, the man indulged Jesper while he figured out how to adequately bind him. The smile and kindness Jesper had seen on this man's face, now nothing more than a distant memory. In their place, cold, dark eyes displaying no emotion. I wonder, should I grant you the same clemency you are showing me? Jesper stopped, surprised by the question, but ignored it, secured the final bindings, and then hastily returned to the carriage. With one hand on the door's handle, he turned back to the man. If there is no lockbox, there will be no clemency. Inside the carriage was surprisingly dusty and unswept, a stark contrast to the elegant and polished golden facade of the exterior. It had apparently been many years since a passenger had enjoyed passage in this vehicle. This all but confirmed what Jesper had suspected. The driver of the carriage was not a liveried servant in the employ of some greater master. Any curiosity that this observation might have further produced was quickly abandoned upon seeing what rested under the carriage's back seat, a large wooden lockbox. Despite its hefty appearance, the box was surprisingly easy to handle. Within a few minutes, Jesper had dislodged it from the hold and carried it out into the sunlight. Inspecting the box carefully, two observations were made. Totemic symbols found carved on all four sides of the box hinted the box was very old and likely not created by Arindian hands. It reminded him of artifacts from the old world and was presumably crafted in one of the ancient realms. That's the box we saw in our fortune telling in the dirt, in our last fortune. Secondly, the box was secured by a rusted yet robust padlock that would not open easily without a key. Jesper looked over to see the driver quietly observing from his indentured position. Do you perhaps have a key you can provide me with to open this box? Without emotion, the driver replied, There is no key to that box. Jesper stood up. Easy enough then. He headed over to the nearby rock of sizable dimensions and lifted the stone up, carrying it back to the box. If there was ever a time when the lock had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. With one hit, the stone had completely shattered the rusted lock. He bent back down and opened the lid. Inside was an effigy, a crude figure chiseled from stone. Without too much deliberation, Jesper bent down and picked it up, somewhat surprised how heavy it seemed given how light the box had felt. Having expected to find something more akin to gold or gems, he looked questioningly at the man, hoping to find an explanation. The driver's smile had once again returned. You are cursed, boy, for deadly is the stone. You have opened that which should never have been opened, and you are cursed. Jesper carried the effigy over to the man and shoved it in front of his face. What is this? That's one. Feeling his disappointment rising to anger now, Jesper tightened his grip on the effigy. One what, you mumbling some adjutor? And in God's name, why have you no purse upon your person? The man did not seem intimidated. One pace, he paused for effect. 12 more, and you will be dead. He only had a second to flinch before the effigy struck him in the head and put an end to his cryptic ramblings. If there was ever a time when the old man had been resistant to brute force, it wasn't recent. Jesper looked down at the sculpted stone figure, now splattered red. Was it cursed? Was he cursed? He had, of course, heard stories of the curses and had never doubted their validity in the past, but now that he was standing face to face with the possibility of being cursed, his mind pleaded with him to be skeptical. And if he was cursed, what difference would the knowledge make? A dozen more paces would not be enough to find another living soul, to say nothing of the chance of procuring a remedy. If he did not move from where he now stood, he could live maybe another 3 or 4 days, maybe more, given the abundance of nearby berries. A plan that, if we ignore its obvious faults, might provide additional opportunities for help to come along. But what good would that do? To be discovered here, beside a body, stolen goods in hand, bloated from berries, and raving about a curse that could very well not be real. No, it would most certainly be better to face one's fate now, take a dozen paces, and see if life goes on. But Jesper found his legs unable to make that first step. His mind was unable to convince his limb to waste away 1/12 of his life in a single motion. Feeling the desperation sink in, he hopelessly looked around him for a solution. And if, by some stroke of luck, the gods had heard his plea, a miracle materialized before him, as if he found himself suddenly at the end of a fairy tale. 2 white horses and a carriage of golden trim were beside him, the answer to his immediate prayers. He laughed at his fortune and calculated the short number of paces back to the road. 4, perhaps only 3 if he jumped. He made a quick survey to see if there was anything he wished to grab before taking the plunge. Let's look. Yep, that guy's dead. And there's the carriage. So is this why you get a limited number of steps and then you die after you do the number of steps? Quote unquote, you die. He thought about removing the driver's fancy coat, as that appeared to be of some value, but the additional risk of undertaking such a task too great to chance. And so, after a profound breath, he took his 2nd, 3rd, and 4th steps, though they were quite large. Seated now behind the horses, he reached for the reins and suddenly realized he was still gripping the effigy. If the curse was real, then it would most certainly be better left here. If, on the other hand, the story was fictitious, there might be some appraisal that could be made of the figure. It was, after all, found within a lockbox, whose typical function oft secures objects of value. Having witnessed firsthand the horrors of destitution, Jesper found his mind equally reluctant to allow his hand to let go. If it is cursed, I die. If not today, then tomorrow. And if I die, what care do I have? And with that statement said aloud, to horses seemingly, Jesper took up the reins with confidence. Oh my God, that was just part 1? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. All right, well, I'm not going to read this right now, because what I will do is I will take a picture, and you can pause if you want to read. I'll read this on my own time, not out loud. I'm starting to think that this will not help us with the sigils, and it was just like world building. Maybe. That's a lot. And we could get another classroom, but then that kind of cuts us off from there. I haven't been into grade 3 yet though. We're doing science in grade 3. What else are we doing in grade 3? Use the elements below to form answers to each of the questions. H2O in its liquid state is called water. Solid state is called ice. In its gaseous state is called gas. Why did you get 2 out of 3? Oh, because it's like steam or whatever? Is this some... wait a minute. Is this... No. I mean, it's kind of the letters on the workshop tablets. Kind of. W A T C E. There's no H though. But there's an I? Yeah, actually, I don't know. Maybe this has something to do with that. Hmm. That does look like those. And there's periodic table. And then what else? We have a hall pass. You will not lose steps while traveling between adjoining hallways. Hallways drafted from an adjoining hallway do not cost gems to draft. That's nice. Disrespectful. See me after class. Ha ha ha. He said Mrs. Peterson in a gaseous state. Teardrop, ice, and water. Wow, Jacob. Low-key dumb. Science is fun. Yeah, it is. Science is fun. All right, well, we gotta backtrack. We can at most get one more classroom. Grade 4, that will be fun. We have 60 steps. We have 62 steps. Can I make anything? The coin purse? And rabbit's foot? Lucky purse! Oh my god! Cool! We got another item. Doubles all the coins you find. Well, we're about to run out of coins. And then all we have left is the magnifying glass. Cool! Yeah, I'm trying to make all the items, so that's actually pretty nice. Yay, we get another classroom. This will be the furthest I've ever gone. Grade 4, we're doing geography. All right. Oh, this is the map that's in room 46. The realms. It has the actual names of the realms, so we can figure out. Well, let's not take a picture of this one. This guy got a B. I need someone who got an A. B minus. No, I need someone who got an A. C minus. I hope this isn't a political statement. Do we have the... Okay, well, none of these kids got a good grade. So you got 5 out of 7, correct. I guess we'll just cross-reference the 2 kids who got a B. You also got 5 out of 7 correct. Maybe that's in a book somewhere. Oh, it's also here. Kind of. Oh, very nice. Oh, wait, that spiral? That was in the ladyship's chamber or whatever, and she said, like, will it ever end? The south key, yep, that's the 8 thing. There's the snakes. Here's the guys with their boxes, yeah. The sacred circle. The north circle. This is the thing where she was like, will it ever end? The spiral of stars. Okay. This one, can we pull it down? Okay. Okay. I mean, this is a good time to have the magnifying glass. The planets. The 3 of tides. Seeker of signs. The devoted circle. The rogue moon. Grade 4 is getting serious. this is probably helpful. There's the Royal Museum. That's where they were gonna plan the heist. Wait. Oh, okay. It's locked. Of course it is. We're so far up. Okay, so that is... Okay, so we know the answers because one's like Mirinda and one's the other one. And we know the three because they're the three sisters. So we saw that in the book. Archaries, Orinda Aries, and Araja, and then Nuance. So that's what's on this side. Now, realm-wise, their shapes, I don't know which ones they got wrong. Or where their shapes are. I guess their shapes are in the book. So that's fine, because we have the book with their shapes in it. I guess that is all she wrote, because we just got the one key. So that's where we'll call it a day. That's also where we will call it a stream. I got a new item, got the hall pass, made a new item, lucky purse, read a story in a book, got almost all the books we need, fixed the slot machine. We did so much tonight. I am exhausted. So that's going to do it for this edition of Secret Hunting in the Blueprints. I will be back tomorrow. Possibly not with this, just because we did a lot tonight and I might need a brain break and to just do something kind of mindless, but we'll see. So thanks for coming out. Have a good night. Bye, everybody.